wine drinking people. Today is Thursday, the 29th of September, and just one day left in this month, and then we have got two of the busiest months of the year for us here at the Wine Watch in terms of drinking, and then, of course, the busiest month, November, in terms of selling. But hey, man, before I take November off and just, put our nose to the grindstone, we are going to drink some serious wines. And when the release of Opus 1 comes out, that it's time to do some serious drinking, because it's always the first week in October, like clockwork. And if there's anyone that walked this earth over the last century that deserves over $100, over $200 now, for a bottle of wine, it's the late, great Robert Mondavi from Napa Valley, California, and the Baron Philippe de Rothschild from Bordeaux, the only person ever to have the classification of his wine changed in the left bank, a second growth to a first growth in 1973. These two very important men met for the first time in 1970, and at that time, well, the Baron felt like, hey man, all the wines in California taste the same, just like Coca-Cola. He wasn't interested in Napa Valley or anywhere else in California. Well, maybe that little tasting in 1976, the Paris tasting, changed his mind, because in 1970, late 70s, 79, these guys decided to form a partnership, by far the most successful partnership in the history of winedom. Well, at that time, they didn't have a winery. They didn't have vineyards. All they had was an idea that they wanted to create a product that would symbolize California and Bordeaux working together. Lucien Simon, their winemaker, and Tim Mondavi were locked in a room with a bunch of samples, and they said, all right, guys, come up with a blend. And they left at the end of the day and said, we can't do it, man. And, it took them a whole week to put together that first vintage, the 1979 blend. And to this day, that wine is still drinking beautifully. I'll never forget the couple of times that we showed it the last time with the CEO of Opus 1 at the Great Wine Seminar, David Pearson. And once again, like I said, just brilliant. And a lot of the older vintages still showing nicely. I remember one time we put 26 vintages in succession on the table. At that time, that was every vintage of Opus 1 released to date. All of the wines still very good. Not many wineries can do that. Not many chateaus from Bordeaux also can do that and get 26 good examples of that wine. Well, we've got the 2013 vintage out, and for those of you in the know about Napa Valley, 2012 and 13, the last two releases, outstanding vintages. Hey, James Suckling calls this the greatest vintage of Opus 1 ever. He rates it 100 points. All I know is it's going to fly out the door, man. It doesn't matter what the press rates this wine. Every single vintage of Opus 1 ever released has gone up in price. The best investment you can make as your wine advisor, I'm going to say, if you want to invest in wine, Opus 1 is a sure thing. So we've got the 2013 vintage coming in next week. Make your reservations now. We only have 15 six-packs and a few half bottles. And we got a bunch of older vintages. But like I said, man, if you want a sure thing, Opus 1 is about as close to a sure thing as you'll find in the wine industry. I'm your host, Andrew Lampasoni, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying, remember, always drink the good stuff first.